What's up, guys? We have another game on our speedrun against Siddharaj Singh. He's 1104, so we're steadily climbing. I'm a little higher rated than the previous videos. I might have played a couple of games. Okay, so anyway, we start with e4. He opens e5, controlling the center. I just want to open up lines and get my pieces developed, so I'm going to go d4, offering up this pawn. This is the start of the center game, but if he takes, I plan on going c3, which is the start of the Danish gambit. He does not take. Instead, he defends this pawn with his queen. It's a very weird looking move, blocking his own pieces. I don't know really what to say about it, except that I'm just going to continue developing my pieces. I bring a knight out towards the center, re-threaten the pawn, right? Okay, so this it doesn't force him, but it because of all the pressure, he decides to take my pawn. We could take back with the knight. I could try to gambit the pawn. The problem is this is hanging as well now with check, so that limits the options a little bit. So how do we want to do this? If you take back with the queen, you give him a free tempo. If you go bishop here, it's playable. I would prefer my bishop on c4, all things equal. So how do I want to play this? Do we want to sack this pawn? Let's sack the pawn. So I'm going to take this with the knight. I'm going to give him this pawn with check. Oh, never mind. He doesn't take it. What I was going to do is block and then just develop my pieces very quickly while he spends time moving his queen. So he develops his knight. This attacks our knight. Looks at the center. I don't want to waste time taking his piece. I want to continue my development. This is hanging, so I'm just going to simply defend my knight and develop my knight and defend it. This, of course, is protected. Black, I don't know. Okay, now I know. He goes g6 to develop this way. Makes sense. I still want to kind of catch him uncastled, so I'm going to continue developing. And bring my bishop out to what looks like an active square. And now I'm ready to castle. He develops his bishop. This puts a second attacker on our knight. So I can't just castle. I have to defend it or move it or counter threat. I think I'm just going to defend it because I want to develop anyway. So I might as well put it here. And now I have an added option of maybe moving my queen and castling queenside, which I like a lot. So let's see what he does. And I have all of my minor pieces out right next to the center. I have a nice pawn in the center. He has no pawns in the center. When he puts his knight here, it'll block his own bishop. Okay, so he does develop his knight so he can castle. This looks at the pawn. It hits it twice, so that pawn is currently hanging. So we could sack it, maybe just castle, but it's not necessary. I have a hard time believing that it's necessary. So I'm just gonna go f3. What this does is it stops both of his pieces from coming to this square. It fully supports this, so it's never hanging, no pressure matters anymore. And it supports a g4 pawn storm because now that he's castled here, we want to break it down at some point. So I want to go queen d2, long castle, and attack him on the king side. If I go queen d2 and he takes, he's gonna make me waste a move trying to capture back, but that's okay. I'm just gonna go queen d2. Now I'm fully developed. All I have to do is castle to complete it. So he tries to fianchetto this way. I could take this, and he'll have to take this way, which relieves a little bit of control over the center, like over the e6 square, but not a big deal. I'm just going to leave things as they are, and I'm going to long castle. Now my rook is on a nice file, and I'm ready to attack. So he develops his bishop, he connects his rook, so he's fully castled, but I have more space. He has nothing here on this line. So what I want to do is go here. So let's do that. Let's move our bishop and now start this attack to remove this defender of the king side. If he takes, then our queen goes to h6. He probably doesn't want our queen there. If he doesn't take, we're going to go h4, h5. If you go h4, h5 before you put the bishop there, then he can answer h4 with h5 of his own. But because the bishop's here, he can't play h5, which is nice. So he moves the knight and hunts this bishop and opens this up. The bishop's currently hanging. We could protect it on a nice square like this. I think we might do that, and that way it's supporting this square when he takes with the knight. Because you could give him the bishop, like you could let him take, but then you still have to waste a move to bring it back because it's hanging. So even if you let him take, you're wasting your move on like this. So if I'm going to waste my move anyway, I might as well not let him take. And I am going to play h4, h5. And this bishop for now will just be out of the way. It'll just look both ways. For now, the pieces that matter the most for my attack are the queen, the bishop, the rook, and the h-pawn. So he jumps his knight to the side, which opens this up. He's putting his knights on the edge instead of the center, so he keeps relieving control over these squares. What's he threatening? I don't know. Maybe it wants to go f5? I'm not entirely sure, but this asks for g4 with tempo. I wanted to go g4, h4, h5 anyway. But now if I do this, I'm not exactly sure where he's hopping his knight other than back to where he came from. And if that's the case, we just got in a very important free move. Why is it so important? Because in opposite side castling, whoever gets to their opponent's king first is going to win. And if you're giving me free moves in my attack, I'm going to be that many moves ahead of you. Okay, so you see how he just wastes time? He has to go back. Okay, good. Now if you kick it again, he's just going to plant it there. So you don't want to push the wrong pawns. Let's push the h4 pawn and then h5 pawn. That way he can't use that square. Also, we want to take at some point. King b1 is a useful move. And our knights are just holding down the fort, just looking over some squares, nothing crazy. This knight's almost trapped, so like, I mean, it's not trapped, we have this and this, but what the hell is this? I have no idea what this is. That's crazy. That's a crazy move. His other moves were like whatever, but this is insane. I guess he's gonna push this. I have no idea. But that's another free turn for us, so we can continue with our plan, right? Let's push. What else is there to do? Let's just try to break down this structure. And this is how you handle a fianchetto system. You castle the other way. You put your pawn on f3 so it supports the center, e4, and then you push these pawns off the board. Especially if you have this battery, right? This is how you deal with the fianchetto. And what happens is eventually these bishops disappear and this rook and this queen coordinate on h6 because your h5 pawn is going to disappear. That's the whole point. If I could just pick it up and throw it off the board, I would, but you can't do that. Because if it wasn't there, you could take the bishop, he takes back, immediately come in with check, right? So that would be scary. Whoa, come on, guy. A6. I mean, obviously this stuff can't work. Obviously it's too slow. He doesn't think what I'm doing is scary, I guess, but now we take the pawn for the sole purpose of opening up the H file. So he takes back with the F thinking, well, his H pawn's still there, so he's safe. What's the problem? And now the queen defends, so he has an extra defender, so that's good for him. But all in all, he's reacting to everything I'm doing, so even if he doesn't get mated, like, we'd rather be us, right? So now we can take, but he defends with the queen. You no longer have queen h6, but that's okay. We still have more pieces. So what do we want to do? Let's double our rooks, right? Maybe that'll be an idea. If we kick the knight, and he goes here, and we sack our rook, I mean, I'd rather just double. That seems too fancy. This looks reasonable, this square. Maybe we can keep h2 in case we want to swing our queen over one day for some reason. I don't know. Also, the pawns block it, so there's no weird bishop attacks. Okay, so now he goes on his attack, but again, it's looking slow. It undefends the knight, so now my knight jumps. So maybe I can even like win a pawn and then take the knight, but that opens up lines towards my king, and I don't want to do that for no reason. So I'm just going to continue with my plan of doubling my rooks and ignoring him. Now he can attack this knight, he can attack this knight, he can jump in and attack my queen. All of these are fine. His bishop has been useless this whole time, so we can definitely take this with check. That does open up the b file. Otherwise we have to move our queen though, right? And we do want to stay in touch with this, so where would we really move it? Here? I'm just going to take it. I don't really want to think or move my queen. My thing's faster than his, so I don't really care if he opens the b file. I mean, he does have like quick access, but I don't really believe it. Maybe I should, but I don't. Okay, I'm going to take here to force the issue. And now I have two rooks looking here, and this knight, I can kick it. If I go here, he's going to go to this side. I don't really want to block my queen. If I go here, this is defended. So if I go to this one, let's kick it this way. This also opens up this square for our knight, which is very beautiful. And because he took back with the queen, he lost any, options of queen b4 threatening my position. The rook's not going to be able to do anything by itself anytime soon. But I'm down on time and I'm running out of time. So when he moves his knight, we can take this and give up. Okay, so he does move his knight and hit our knight. I don't want to give him this trade. I want to keep my knight on the board, keep it in an attacking position, and look at this square. It also blocks this diagonal. So now I have two knights in the center. They look really nice. Although this one, not sure what it's doing other than defending. But that's fine. It also blocks some stuff. So I want to take this and I want to somehow do something with my queen. Maybe even here. And even though the material's even, like what's black playing for here other than to just not get checkmated? Maybe this is a move, but then I'm still going here. And then that also lets me do this. Yeah, if I take this and he goes here, this is a check. So he has to be careful to watch that square. There's also this first, increasing pressure, but it seems unnecessary. It looks like I have everything where I need it to conduct a final attack. And, you know, what did he just take? So he moves his queen and takes this pawn. It doesn't threaten anything. It does centralize the queen. It removes the support for there, but isn't this a problem? Am I not just getting in with my rooks and my queen and my knight? I guess he has queen trade here. But I have check here, check here. I mean, I have check here, take the queen, he takes the knight, check here. I can win the rook in that line. Alright, so queen trade leads to me winning this rook, I think. Yeah, so now he moves the rook, which defends it, although he wasted his turn. So I'm not calculating, but let's just go here and see where he goes. He goes there. He's trying to maybe escape. This gives him a check, but does that do anything? Probably not. I only have a minute, so just move, and then let's see what happens. Check, there, check. I only have a minute. I have this check if I take his rook. So let's take the rook and throw in this check. And now he has to move his king. Let's take this with check. And then he has to go somewhere. That's mate. Oof, we did it. A minute on our clock. We got it done. Let's go through the game. So we just put a pawn in the center and develop our bishop. And then we have center and development again. And then we have development and center. He takes our pawn. We take back, force move. And then back to development and center. Development and center. Development and center. Now this is strictly center. No development. Strictly center. And in addition to center, it also comes with middle game ideas, but you would have to know that ahead of time that f3 is a lever pawn to support g4 and h4. If you know that, then you realize that f3 is center and middle game idea. But if you don't know that, you can just be like, center move solidifies the pawn, that's enough. Okay. Development, king safety, trying a castle. King safety, development, center. Long castle is awesome. In a position like this, you'll get it a lot against peers, moderns, any general fianchetto. And even though nothing's been traded, the engine says white's about, you know, +1 here, the equivalent of a pawn. Now you're not going to just go winning games because of that. You still have to launch your attack and understand how it's done. But still, like, why would you rather be black here? You know, white looks so nice. And so that's just like the general thing. You'll be a little bit better and stuff like this. You should be happy as white. And now I just go with my attack, right? All my pieces are developed. You could put your rooks like in the center and try to play, but there's nothing there to attack really. He can never really push this. Like, he can do it, but that can only ever lead to equality with rooks behind it after a bunch of trades. Like, he's not actually playing for anything. So instead of doing that, what we play for is a kingside attack. Whenever they have this structure, the thing you want to know, whether it's against the peer, it's the modern, any fianchetto like this, kingside, you get that same color bishop, you line it up. If we go h4 here, he can go h5, so that when you do this whole thing, your rook will never have access because he'll have a pawn on h5. So what we do is we put this here first, so when we play h4, he can never play h5. That means we're guaranteed to get rid of our pawn, and we're guaranteed rook access. So it's a little move order difference. Middle game idea. And the good thing is, this whole thing, this battery with h4, h5 ideas, with a pawn on f3 supporting the center, this is just a thing that you want to know because it applies in many, many different situations. So it's just an easy thing to put in your head. Okay, this is just not giving up the bishop. You could have done whatever. This is just a bad move. We get to continue our attack, continue our attack, continue our attack. It's all just according to our plan, and if you put the engine on, it's +3, right? So we're not up, anything, but our attack is, once you get to this point, all these things are in place. It's almost unstoppable because now either he takes or you take, and your rook has access to the h7 and h6 squares. So we take, and boom, rook's open. Now it coordinates with the queen and the bishop. And so it's tough because g4 or e4, g5 or e5 one day will kick away this knight, creating mate threats, so you got to be careful. This is a good try by him to get the queen defense in. Out of curiosity, what's like king b1, rook h3? Yeah, they're all fine. He goes here, we double. Do they want us to move? Nope, they want us to take by far. Okay, so I made the right decision. And then, yeah, because you have your whole attack. We take, and now his queen can't go here, and we have all of this going. You don't want to go something like queen h6 and trade queens. If you go g5, he can go knight h5, and then I would have sacked the rook for the knight and the pawn. But then that also would block my queen's access. It's still nice because, for example, let's say I went here, he went here, and I sacked, and he took, and I took. I have this awesome move, right? This solidifying move, this, like, it still looks nice, but I'm curious, what's the eval? Still +1. Yeah, it's no longer +3 or whatever, but it's still, you can see how even though I sacked the rook, this still looks very scary for black and good for white. Swing the queen across, put the knight here. I don't know, it looks kind of nice. Anyway, I didn't do that because it felt unnecessary and you had better moves. And why go g5 if you can go e5 and he can't do that, right? And then here you could definitely have taken the pawn and let this happen, especially since this doesn't come with check. I don't know, maybe my brain thought it comes with check. But either way, I jumped this in here. It's super strong either way, and he's not going to stop me from doing what I want anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. I'm curious, what's the difference in eval? Knight f5. G takes f5. Well, how would you... oh, because then this is hanging. That's funny. Okay, so they're all the same junk. It doesn't even matter. They're all +5 or whatever. And then we take here. We go here. Check, check. Forcing moves, and it's all forcing. And the game is over. It was center, development, moved all the way through move 10, at least, right? We just finished castling. Now at move 10, we have all of our minor pieces out. Our king is safe, right? And you can either, it depends on the position. If you have open files and stuff, you can move your rooks to those open files, and your position is much stronger than it was before. And here our rook's already on the only open, semi-open file, and even then it's like, it's not going to do any, it's already there, it's done. This H rook, there's really nowhere to put it, and so you need to turn into middle game ideas. How do we create space for the rook? We launch this pawn up the board and we throw it away. Like if I could throw it away, I would. My rook would be super strong, right? So that's where this comes from. This is all middle game after move 10. And then now you know how to deal with fianchettos. You're welcome. Didn't cost you a penny. Just like the video and submit your rapid games. Goodbye, guys.